In this video, we will learn about radians and how they can be used to measure angles. First, how does a radian look like? It's an angle and about this big. This is about 1 radian. Let's compare with 1 degree, which you are familiar with. This is about 1 degree. Radians and degrees are different units to measure angles. So what is 1 radian exactly? Let's look at this circle. If we draw an arc which is the same length as the radius, the angle subtended by the arc at the center of the circle would be 1 radian. So, if the radius of the circle is 1 unit, and the length of this arc is also 1 unit, this subtended angle is said to be 1 radian. For this circle with a radius of 2 units, when the length of the arc is also 2 units, this subtended angle is also 1 radian. So, when the length of an arc is the same as the radius, in this case, r units, the angle subtended by the arc at the center of the circle is always 1 radian. Now, how many radians is the angle at the center of a circle? To find out, let's go back to the circle with a radius of 1 unit and use this table to help us. When the arc length is also 1 unit, the subtended angle is 1 radian. When the length of the arc is 2 units, the angle is 2 radians. And when the length of the arc is 3 units, the angle is 3 radians. Do you see any pattern? The value of the angle is always the same as the value of the length of the arc. When the arc is the circumference of the circle, what do you think is the angle at the center of the circle? We know that the circumference of any circle is 2 pi r. Since the radius is 1 unit, the circumference of this circle is 2 pi units. So the angle at the center of this circle is 2 pi radians. What about this circle with the radius of 2 units? What do you think is the angle at the center of this circle? Let us see. We know that when the length of the arc is 2 units, the subtended angle is 1 radian. When the length of the arc is 4 units, the angle is 2 radians. And when the length of the arc is 6 units, the angle is 3 radians. Do you see that the value of the angle is always the value of the length of the arc divided by 2? When the arc is the circumference of the circle, which is 4 pi units, what is the angle at the center of this circle? The angle at the center of this circle should be 2 pi radians. So what do you think is the angle at the center of a circle with a radius of r units? Let's see. When the arc length is 2r, which is twice of the radius, the angle is 2 radians, which is the length of the arc divided by the radius of the circle. When the length of the arc is the circumference of the circle, which is equal to 2 pi r, the angle at the center is 2 pi radians. So the angle at the center of any circle will always be 2 pi radians. Now let us compare. We now know that there are 2 pi radians in a circle. We also know there are 360 degrees in a circle. So 2 pi radians is equal to 360 degrees. By proportion, pi radians is equal to 180 degrees, or we can also say 180 degrees is equal to pi radians. This is a very useful relationship. With it, we can easily express any angle either in radians or degrees. So if this angle is 1/3 pi radians, what is this in degrees? Using this relationship, 1/3 pi radian is equal to 60 degrees. What about 1.5 radians? What is it in degrees? By proportion, it is 180 over pi times 1.5, which is approximately 85.9 degrees. How do we express degrees in radians? Let's try it with 45 degrees. With this relationship, we can express degrees in radians. By proportion, it will be pi over 180 times 45, which is pi over 4 radians. In summary, we now know that when the length of the arc is the same as the radius, which is r units, the angle subtended by the arc at the center of the circle is always 1 radian. And the angle at the center of any circle is always 2 pi radians. We also know this very useful relationship that can help us express any angle either in radians or degrees.